Now, after that, we have understood what exactly is stakeholder identification. We've discussed the key tools, inputs, and outputs of this process. Let's understand exactly how to create a stakeholder register. So that will be very beneficial to you on the exam time, also in real world scenarios. So one of the key outputs that we have identified as the stakeholder identification process is the stakeholder register. So what exactly is the stakeholder register? So the stakeholder register is a very important document for understanding and managing the stakeholders effectively. And this session will guide you through the key steps to create one of these stakeholders using PMI's recommended ITTOs. And by the end of the session, you will know how to build and maintain this key project artifact. Again, to highlight what exactly is the stakeholder register, we can consider it as it's a comprehensive document listing all of the stakeholders' roles, interests, influence, and expectation. And it forms the foundation for the stakeholders' engagement planning, ensuring a tailored communication and collaboration. And this register is essential for the project managers to maintain focus on all key individuals and groups impacted by the project success. The key inputs that we have covered earlier when identifying the stakeholders, including the let's say the project charter when defining the key stakeholders and objectives, also the EEFs, which is external factors impacting the stakeholders, as well as the OPAs, such as the historical information and templates. So the project charter serves as the primary input to the stakeholder identification or the stakeholder register, providing an initial list of all of the stakeholders and outlining their objectives. The enterprise environment factors or EEFs include external influences like regulations or culture norms that can affect the stakeholders. The organizational process assets or OPAs provide a valuable historical data or lessons learned and templates to streamline the process of the stakeholder identification. The tools that you can use when creating the stakeholder register, including the data presentation techniques such as the stakeholder analysis, also using some of these analytical tools like that we have covered earlier, the power interest grid or the stakeholder queue. So effective tools like stakeholder analysis help to categorize and prioritize the stakeholders based on their needs, based on their interests, based on their power level on the project. Techniques like the power interest grid and the stakeholder cube offer a visual methods to evaluate the influence and the interest level, helping project managers to develop an informed engagement strategies. What they are the key components that any stakeholder register should have? So the stakeholder register captures critical information such as the stakeholder roles, their expectation, whether it's high or low or just medium expectation, and the influence level on the project. It categorizes the stakeholders based on their engagement levels to ensure the right approach for managing the relationships and expectation effectively. To summarize the key components that any stakeholder register has to have, say that the stakeholder list with their roles and responsibilities, their interests and expectation levels, and their power, influence, and engagement levels that is required by them. To have a practical steps, step by step, to create the stakeholder register, we can start by collecting the stakeholder information from the inputs. Next, we may analyze the data using any representation tool to understand or to visualize these stakeholders. Finally, you can document the findings in a structured format that can be provided by your organization. And that will serves, let's say, or ensures the clarity and the usability for the project team in case if they wanted to understand a key stakeholder with their influence level or any information that is needed to communicate and to engage with the stakeholders. To have a practical example here when creating a stakeholder register, let's say for an IT project developing a new software, the stakeholders may include the team members, end users, and external vendors. And using tools like the Power Interest Grid, the project manager categorizes these stakeholders and document their roles and expectation in the stakeholder register. And this document serves as the foundation for targeted stakeholder engagement strategies. What are the common pitfalls or mistakes to avoid when identifying the stakeholder or creating the stakeholder register? So, overlooking key stakeholders such as those with indirect influence can lead to unexpected challenges. Additionally, failing to update the stakeholder register as the project dynamics changes or using inconsistent formats can reduce its effectiveness. Ensure regular updates and standardized format, which is considered as an essential for maintaining its utility. What are the benefits for a well-maintained stakeholder register? A well-maintained stakeholder register facilitates an effective engagement by addressing the stakeholder needs and concerns proactively. It also minimizes the risks by identifying potential conflicts early and enhances communication by aligning it with the stakeholder interest and influence levels. To summarize our session, we said to create a stakeholder register, start with the key inputs like the project charter and use tools such as the stakeholder analysis and mapping techniques and document the findings in a structured format and ensure a regular updates which is considered as critical to ensure the stakeholder register remains a valuable resource throughout the project lifecycle.